Hello, race fans. Welcome back to Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Here we have the Underdog Racing League here tonight for round number 14 at the Kentucky Speedway. It's been a fantastic start to, or really a whole, the 13 races we've done so far have been really fantastic throughout this whole entire season, I must say. And can expect nonetheless here at Kentucky tonight. We need to give a special shout out to the sponsors that help make it happen here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. And we want to give a special shout out to our proud partner of ButtKicker. Every game deserves a truly immersive experience. The ButtKicker Gamer 2 lets you feel every detail, from subtle footsteps to the rumble of a V10 powered race car, from ambient environmental effects to the power of a nearby explosion. By moving a physical mass instead of only air like a traditional speaker, the Gamer 2 provides instant, accurate, powerful bass response, and it's all perfectly synced with every game with no additional software required. So make sure you go to ButtKicker.com to check out what they have in store for you there, as you can use Freaky Fast 20, remember that's Freaky with 2 E's, to get 20% off at ButtKicker.com any purchase, and you can feel what you have been missing. Thank you all for tuning in here tonight. Like I said, race number 14 here at the Kentucky Speedway. I am Zach Hall up in the booth. Joining me tonight in the booth will be Sam Dyer, and we'll have Robert Moyer Jr. in the production box running the cameras in the background. But fantastic night here for racing. Sam, thanks for joining me up in the booth, man. Really happy to get this started.
Yeah, 120 laps here at Kentucky for round number 14, and excited to see how these drivers are going to be running around here. This is their third time at a mile-and-a-half course, and it's going to be interesting. We've had two different winners at mile-and-a-half courses. Our first winner at a mile-and-a-half course was going to be Ian Baker. in week number 2 at Texas, and then also Las Vegas. You had Nate Morris, and both drivers are here tonight, ready to see who could possibly become a two-time winner at the mile and a half courses, or we might find a third driver. So, due to the fact that we haven't really seen anyone be consistent at mile and a half courses, this race seems to be kind of a wild card of sorts.
It very definitely could be a wild card. At the moment, we got Jason Finsler, our points leader, on top of the board in practice. As Man, I tell you, it's really going to be interesting to see if Finsler can put together a performance on the mile and a half tracks. You know, that was a great stat you brought up there, Sam. Of we only ran 2 mile and a half tracks so far throughout the schedule, and Ian Baker and Nate Morris, the only two to take a win. Ian Baker, I tell you, he's definitely had the consistency throughout the whole entire season. Nate Morris, he's been hit or a little bit missed, but Jason Finsler, if for out without mistakes, this guy could have had maybe 6 or 7 wins so far. So I'm looking at he's going to be still the guy to go through. But from there, man, you see Sean Huffsteller, he's had so many top 5 finishes this season, and he's second in practice at the moment. He could break through the victory lane here tonight, also at a mile and a half.
Yeah, I mean, for Huffstuffler, second in points, he's looking to continue a great points day. And, you talked on the fact that Finsler is the points champ, is the points leader, excuse me. And he's been just dominant this season. Has the best record of the best finishes, has 5 wins so far this season, 11 top fives, 12 top tens. So just consistency is what's put the five machine where he's at, which is on top of the board and continuing to do so. Based on practice, like I said, top of the board there, and it kind of makes me nervous on the rest of the field because he's almost a full tenth faster than Huffstuffler, who's second right now in practice.
Yeah, and personally, that's got to be actually even more worrying because what really Finsler has, I feel like that some other drivers may lack compared to him that gives him his such good consistency and speed each week is the long run pace. And if he's that fast in one lap pace, man, it could be a long night for these guys. We've seen it before with F5. He's had dominant performances, and then something will come up to stop that performance from being a win. But he usually rebounds for a top 5, but we've seen little hiccups there from the 5 that let someone else get in the victory lane. And I tell you what, you got to be picture perfect here because he hasn't got a win on mile and a half yet. He's going to want to try to do it tonight here as the points leader.
Yeah, looking at drivers and where they are right now on the board and where they're running compared to where we've seen them previously. Last week's winner of Walterman, 10th on the board during practice of the fastest there. And Walterman won at Talladega, which came out with sparks and just scattering of sheet metal everywhere with the way that race finished out, with only about 2 drivers coming out of the big one. And that was a amazing race that everyone should go back and watch on that finale. It was incredible to watch Dylan make his way through and winning last week, but went from a super speedway now to Kentucky. And Zach, what are some major differences here at Kentucky compared to some of the other mile and a half courses that we usually go to?
Well, this is definitely a little bit of a awkward mile and a half, I'd say we've gone to. You know, with the big reconfiguration that we've seen here at the Kentucky Speedway, with turn 1 being, not as wide as it used to be. They really made it not as wide of a corner, but they did add a little more banking. So right now, in my opinion, it's made the track a little bit more of a one groove track, right down on that bottom groove, right on that yellow line. And in 3 and 4, they didn't change anything about it. They kept it the same, but it's certainly repaved. So it's got a lot of grip still. 3 and 4, I think you got a little bit more options than you do on 1 and 2. 1 and 2 is kind of like the Texas thing they got going on, but backwards. As 1 and 2 is the fast corner, like Texas is 3 and 4 is the fast corner, where 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 here at Kentucky are the slow corners that have a little less banking and a little less throttle time. So we'll see which driver can master both corners, but one is going to be the corner that I think is even for most drivers. You're going to see the driver who really shines be good in that turn 3 and 4 section.
Yeah, that's what we're going to be keeping our eyes out on for, as we've got ourselves 5 seconds left here in practice. And then we're going to be going to qualifying, where drivers are going to have 2 laps to try to put down the best times they can to see who can get the pole position. And looking at the stats, Jason Fensler has the most wins and the most poles. He's got 4. And with him being the fastest on the board during here for practice, obviously the favorite to get the pole here at Kentucky. But are there any other drivers that possibly could come through? It's going to be a good question. Zach, during practice, drivers were utilizing the draft. Is the draft something that's going to be extremely important for these drivers for the main race, or is that going to be something that really isn't as important as some other places.
I think it's gonna be huge for this track, especially. Down here in 1 and 2, you're going to be pretty much mostly wide open. I mean, early laps here, you're going to be wide open through both corners, and I think you're going to see somewhat of a race here where drivers are not going to get away from each other. They're going to have to utilize that draft, and that could have skewed these practice times we got here. We'll have to see how they match up with those qualifying times that these drivers start to put down. But yeah, draft's going to be a huge factor here in these trucks, as always, with the lower horsepower and high downforce. It always makes somewhat of a pack race before the tires start to wear, and then we'll start to see separation, I imagine, around lap 15.
These drivers are getting their warm-up times down. We're going to start seeing that the tower to your left starting to fill up with your drivers going to be staying. Qualifying, extremely important. You want to be up front for these drivers. You don't know how the rest of the season is going to go, but points-wise, you want to be up front for the potential chance of stage points. Some are going to be starting off all of our lap times, but won't be staying there long as the times rain down. Baker now on top of the board as everyone else still trying to get their first lap in.
Yeah, time's running in right now, but like you said, just got to put yourself in a good position to get stage points at the beginning of this race. Lap 40, not very long to that stage point. I mean, that's just one run necessarily. And you got to get what you can early because those stage points are going to be critical with only 7 races to go before the playoffs start.
Extremely important for these drivers as they're still coming through. It's going to be Kevin Orlando Jr. so far on top of the board with a 30.875. Some drivers have already come in with their final times. This 27 Orlando, extremely aggressive during Talladega, but won't stay there long as it's going to be the 89 on top of the board.
Great lap from Matt Job there, like you said, taking the top of the board. He's a driver that has shown a lot of pace throughout the season, hasn't had the full race to put together. So we'll see if this great qualifying spot so far through this qualifying session can help lead to a great race for himself, as I believe Jason Finsler, our leader from practice, just left pit road. We'll see what kind of time he can put down here in the next 2 minutes.
That 26 machine, if Eddie Wildermuth going to be up to 10th place. But yeah, exactly what you said. It's going to be Finsler, last driver to try to put a time down. Everyone else, they're set in stone on where they're at now, but certainly could shift down one position if the 5 can keep up that pace as he's now on his warm-up lap. Zach, you've talked about how the inside lane is so important. Is there a certain lane that these drivers are really focusing on during qualifying that you noticed as Finsler starting up his first lap?
Yeah, it looks like you see there, Finsler right on that yellow line down there in 1 and 2. I think that's going to be critical all night. Down here in 3 and 4 is where you have options. There's a little bit of seam work here on the track that you can use. We see Finsler here in the qualifying lap. He's going to go down to that black strip of asphalt there, get right down on that, use as much of the racetrack here on the exit, and try to get as good a launch down here to complete this lap. We'll see what it is. That's second on the board.
That's only his first lap. You know that he's going to be carrying a little bit more speed. Only 2 thousandths as Job's hoping and crossing his fingers that the 5 machine won't pick up 3 thousandths of a second on this second time. But this 5's looking smooth. It might have the time here.
Second lap, like you said, usually the fast lap in these trucks as they got up to speed out of 3 and 4. We'll see what it comes this time. I think this might be the lap.
Cross the line, Finsler. Time will not bested, it looks like. Looks like he'll be staying in second place. That second lap was not faster. It's going to be Matt Job, top of the board in that 89 machine.
Great lap for Matt Job. What a qualifying for him. Here with 40 seconds to left. Everybody's completed a lap, so that's it. Nobody can beat that man. Held off Jason Finsler, the points leader, like he said, by 2 thousandths of a second. That is so close, and I thought that second lap would be the lap. Usually that's the lap we see. That is your best one. That's what Job did his best lap on. Let's say Finsler might have got a little bit too much out of the tire there on that first lap, possibly.
Huge congratulations to Matt Job of the 89 machine. This is going to be his first pole position of the season. A great job for himself, usually averaging starting position of around 10th place, but certainly has found speed here this weekend as now's the time. You're coming closer and closer to the end of the regular season. We're coming to All-Star Week, which will be next week. So why not start hitting your momentum here coming closer to the end?
You're very correct about that. All-Star Week's a great time to hit some momentum and carry that into there at Monza next week. That'll be fun to see. Looks like we'll go to our starting grid here tonight.
It's going to be Matt Job in the 89 machine, going to be topping the board. Then you got Fensler, Orlando, Baker, Morris, Ehart, as well as Walterman. That's going to be your top 7. Orleo is going to be in 8th place with Johnston, Alves, as well as Huffstoffler, Wildermouth, Summer, Murphy, as well as Loveland, Hates, Bellows, as well as Durham. That's going to be your top 18 so far. Looks like we're going to have a total of 24 drivers here tonight. Excuse me, 25 drivers here tonight. And then you're going to also find ourselves down here for 19th. You've got Whitforth, as well as Steele, Megard, as well as Sturd, Presley, Johnson, and Kerberg going to be your final driver of those on the board. Zach, we've got 25 drivers lined up here at Kentucky for 120 laps. Stage 1 comes to an end on lap 40. So does that make you feel like you need to be aggressive early in this first stage, or do you want to be a little bit passive on saving those tires?
I think what you're going to see here is definitely 2 different ideals playing out. Like you said, some drivers are going to be pushing here and some drivers are going to be saving. As myself, I would look to save. I think that's what you're going to see out of this 5 truck. I would not be surprised to see this 5 truck wait a little bit here as the points leader, let his tires come to him as the stage goes on and see if he can pick these guys off later. If I'm Matt Job here, I think he wants to lead every lap and just get out there and go. So we might see him just take off and go as fast as he can. But I think there's going to be some mind games played here. Always is in iRacing with tire saving. So we'll have to see which driver can play that game the best.
Yeah, I mean, looking at some of those drivers that are in the top 15 that should be making a charge forward, I think Brett Summer, one of those drivers I'm looking at. But I think the big one has to be the 56 of James Loveland. Loveland has shown speed and expected to see this 56 try to battle to get into the top 10 and maybe even a chance at the top 5.
Loveland's always a good pick. The guy always seems to drive through the field. Doesn't have the greatest qualifying spots, but always seems to just come on through. So 2 wins on his belt so far this season. I would not be surprised if we could see him in victory lane, even from as far back as 15th.
I mean, that's what, these league races and longer races give you a chance, is if you don't have that 1 lap speed, you can always come back and make that charge through the field with caution laps or with tire fuel strategy, as we'll see if Loveland can make his way through. But interesting to see these drivers up front. We know that Fensler's quick, but I mean, this is impressive to see that Job is up here. Excited to see what this 89 has. Like we said, first pole of the season, pace car pulls off and we get ready to go green here at Kentucky for round number 14 of the Underdog Racing League Truck Series. Green flag waves and the 89 brings us to the green as they're coming racing down to turn number 1.
Great start for both those up front side by side as they enter here into 1. Looks like Fensler might have a nose ahead entering through 1 and 2 here on cold tires. We'll see how it happens here. It's back in the back here. A lot of action going on as they get up speed.
Yeah, they're going to be staying side by side, looking back around that 11th place as everyone's gotten pretty single file lap very quickly. And you talked about how it looks like it's going to be a single file race line for a lot of these drivers. So it's not a surprise that everyone tries to get down low as quick as possible. Baker going to be already making a pass here for 2nd place, getting by the 89. And Job had that quick first lap, and sometimes you see drivers that have the quick 1-lapper, and the consistency isn't there later on as Fensler continues to pull away.
Yeah, like you said there, sometimes the consistency doesn't match that 1-lap pace these drivers have. But I tell you what, Job, usually a driver that comes forward as the run goes on throughout this season. So I could see him maybe saving a little something here, letting it come to him. And I tell you what, through our first 14 races so far, he's had 9 top 10s. And 0 top 5s. So he's been right on the fringe of breaking into that top 5 with 9 top 10s. But man, just looking for that little bit more here tonight.
Yeah, it's that consistency you're looking for to get into the playoffs, and you hope you can get over the hump once playoffs happen. Side-by-side action is going to be happening for Brown. 4th place for 2nd there is Ehart and Orlando. They were battling back. You see here Baker in 2nd place. Do you want to give an update? It looks like Justice Murphy might have had troubles in the 18 machine as he's had to pull it into pit road.
Never great here on lap 4 to be sitting on pit road, and he's still here. So it looks like he's going to pull off this time here, Sam. So Looks like some type of issue there for that 18, but we'll see if he can get back into this thing. Stage caution at lap 40.
Looks like he thought the damage wasn't too bad. Not going to be using a fast repair, as all these drivers do have one to work with. Hopefully we'll be using it later on. As you're seeing this battle here for 6th place, it's Nate it's I can't speak right now. It's Nate and Mike battling it for this 22 and the 74 as they get it single filed out as well. There's our Talladega winner of Dylan Walterman, and Walterman's just lingering and staying in 8th place. And so far, the waiting game isn't a bad choice if you're trying to save your tires, while everyone else, they might be thinking about moving and charging forward.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of single file action right now. Some drivers making a little bit of passes here and there. But right now, everybody's kind of holding suit with Finsler out front at the moment. But you can see Nate Morris, he was the winner at Las Vegas there. So we'll see if he can use, like we said earlier, he's the only other mile-and-a-half winner other than Ian Baker throughout this whole entire season. He can use some of that know-how to get around here. And, not the biggest difference when it comes to Las Vegas and Kentucky. There is definitely a difference, but nothing too dramatic. We could see that pace from that 22 here as he's looking strong already early in the going.
I mean, Las Vegas and Kentucky, there's slight differences there. But, I mean, you brought up the fact of, the ways that you have to attack these corners, kind of similar to the way Texas is. And that's where Baker was at Texas for week 2. So, understanding, hey, you need to pick and choose where you're going to be making these passes and aggressive moves could be helping out the 88 machine that's still within 2/10. So we're on board with Trevor Ehart. Ehart right now running in 4th place, just following suit, trying to follow Joe and see where this 89 machine will take himself. But everyone's just staying in line until you go back to around 8th place. I mean, take back yourself to 9th place. That's where you find yourself with Professor Huffstuffler and Johnston, who are side by side for a quick couple of laps, and then they figure out how to get things situated for themselves.
Yeah, Sean Huffstuffler taking the 9th position from Parker Johnston, and Huffstuffler, Lee calls him the Professor. And I tell you, this guy is methodical, and he works his way through the field each and every week. He started 11th at the moment. He's already up to 9th, the 2nd fastest in practice. Would not be surprised to see this guy crack into that top 5 at some point here tonight, as he's been a top 5 machine all year long.
Yeah, and then you saw a little bit of the yellow machines. They were side by side for a second there, Morris and Maleo Jr. as they were duking it out. And Zach, I try to touch on each time drivers are side by side, but the passes are happening so quick that it's hard for us to really capture every single pass that's going on. Do you think it's because drivers are recognizing it's early, let's not battle so hard for these positions, just take it, let's not waste these tires?
Yeah, I think that's the case too. Some drivers definitely early on, you're going to be more cautious to let people go and not try to hold them off. But also, I think another thing with this track being such single groove, that single groove racing sometimes not necessarily doesn't make it hard to pass. It is hard to pass because there's a car in that lane usually. But if you can get and take into the inside of that car and take that lane away, usually generally passing is a little bit easier because that outside lane is just not as good. And that's possibly what we're seeing so far, is a lot of guys making really quick passes on the bottom.
You're seeing on screen, that's James Loveland. In front of him is the 25 of Trevor Ehart. Ehart just got into the wall a couple of laps ago on entry of turn 1. Just looked like a lapse of judgment on the 25 machine. Was on the outside wall for about half of the corner, losing a lot of ground, going from 4th place down to 12th.
Yeah, he lost a lot of ground there, like you said, and doesn't look too bad on the damage-wise, though. So looks like he did a good job to keep it out of there as we jump back to the 10 car here of Gerald Whitford.
Whitford currently running in 16th position. Darrell Whitworth not doing too bad for himself. Like we said, he's in 16th position. Started in 19th place, so able to move up at least 3 positions for himself. So a nice couple of turns for himself. In front of him, he's got the 52. David got out of shape there on the entry of the corner and losing a little bit of time.
You're going to see the 50 of John Magner here coming up through. I tell you what, he's got the pitstopspicks.com car. And I tell you what, if nobody's checked this out, Robert, and we always talk about this, but you got to check this guy's website out, pitstoppicks.com. There you can see on the screen. Go check that out there if you do any DraftKings fantasy, NASCAR stuff because man, I tell you what, I check their site out every week because I do DraftKings NASCAR. I've been doing it for a couple years now, and this guy's got really good knowledge when it comes to what you need to do to set up your lineup. So definitely, if you're into the fancy NASCAR, check out pitstoppicks.com.
Uh, Especially with this weekend that's coming up. I mean, you need every help that you can get. So have to check out pitstoppicks.com sometime before these races this weekend. I will for sure be checking them out. Uh, Man, hard racing around 11th place. Ehart pulling along Loveland. And now I'm going to be passing Nick Alves, who in this 24 machine losing some positions. And this is around the time we start to see if you haven't been protecting your tires, that wear and tear starts to show up.
Yeah, lap 15, exactly the time where you're going to see who burnt their stuff up and who saved their stuff. And at the moment, Alves going backwards 2 position, Earhart and Loveland up 1 as they come up with Parker Johnson in front of them. I tell you what, Earhart and Loveland carrying really good center speed and off here as they get to the inside Johnston. These two look like they're going pretty fast and forward.
Yeah, I mean, it just looks like Earhart frustrated with that contact to the wall, losing almost over 10 positions and trying to gain them all back now. And able to try to make the pass here. Gonna do so on Johnston. Johnston's just gonna be fading back as on screen you see Summer trying to make a move on Walterman and trying to get to the inside of that 46 machines quarter panel, just push him up just slightly to give some space, and then directly behind him, that's where you're seeing the 4 cars battling it out for the 10th position. I mean, this is some great racing action when we were just seeing them all single filed up. And then in front of them, you got 5 cars that are battling to see who's going to be holding on for 3rd position as they're about to go 3 wide here directly to the inside. Oh my goodness. That's going to be Huffstufler trying to make that inside lane work. He's passed 2, now trying to pass the 3rd.
What a move from the 94 of Sean Huffstutler, man. What a move here as he's trying to make that work. I tell you what, we've seen the bottom lane be really preferred for passing so far, but I tell you what, now the outside lane is really becoming the lane where I think these guys are getting a little bit tight and not being able to keep it on that bottom as well as they want, and the outside lane's being the lane to defend here. So, well, Junior almost made a move.
Parker Johnson looks like got into the outside wall extremely hard, ducked him into the inside wall, able to avoid the inside wall, so no additional damage, but you can see on the front right, there is damage on the 48 machine, luckily still drivable.
Is he got the Chick-fil-A car there, definitely some damage on the right front of that thing. Yeah, and like you say, it's still drivable right now, and you got to stage caution. So he just needs to think about that and stay calm and patient here. Is it back at Scott Careberg there in the 14th? He's in the 20th position. Back to the 91 now, Lance Durham in the 22nd position. So we got a few guys back here, but man, it's definitely the point of the run now where we're seeing comers and goers. And Ian Baker in the 88 is this 3 wide on the first stretch with him and Loveland. Man, oh man, Baker going backwards quick in the 88.
Yeah, Baker was extremely aggressive, trying to move from 3rd up to 2nd and trying to stay with Benzler for so long. And ever since we hit lap 12, the 88 has been just dropping back position after position. He also has a little bit of right side damage, and that is something that also could be affecting the 88 a little bit more than just these tires.
Yeah, and he's just struggling at the moment, but he's got to keep it in mind. Baker's a strong young driver here. I mean, the kid has won multiple races this season, and he's just got to right now think about how he can get to the stage here, get himself fixed up, and make a better job of his tires next time. And I'm sure he'll figure it out. He'll learn as this race goes on. The best practice is the race, they say, as he's got a little bit of pressure here now from Nick Alves in the 24 down here in the bottom of 3 and 4s. Looks like 3 cars might go by him here.
Yeah, Alves trying to make this move on Baker. Baker's going to be trying to slide down to block Waldermouth and will be able to do so. The 26 car going to be just ducking it up and down, and then he's got to watch out for David 52 behind him.
Yeah, a lot of guys coming forward, a lot of guys going backwards, and that's just showing you the difference of the usage on these tires. And just from what we see from Baker, just no run off the corners. That's just telling me can't get back to the gas. Very much a tight syndrome for him.
Oh boy, the 52 able to make the pass on the 26. We'll try to go to the inside of Baker, and looks to try to capture that position, and everyone else going to be following suit. The 26, though, I don't know if it's because he's loose out of 4, but he has been wiggling a lot. I mean, he's also been trying to figure out where to place that machine. He's got to be careful when he's also got another driver behind him. Here comes Jake Johnson behind the 26.
Yeah, Jake Johnson, 24th to 15th. He's pretty much the biggest mover throughout this whole entire race. Yes, he is, and he's been going forward in the 12.
Kind of just waiting. I mean, the drivers also from about 20th on back, they've had some slight issues. They've really lost grip to the rest of the field, which was kind of a shocker to me to see. I thought Dennis Steele was going to have a better run for himself, and right now in 21st position. But here comes on the inside. Johnson able to make the pass, moving himself up another position. So far, up to 14th for the 12 machine. The driver that's been staying up front for most of this race hasn't lost time, and honestly looks like continuing to pull away. That's the 5 of Fensler. Just incredible to see, up to a 2.5-second lead over the 89 of Matt Job, who just continues to pull away from the rest of the field himself. And this is great to see from those front two, but concerning to see that Fensler might be going for win number 6 of the season.
Yeah, very concerning here early on. And tell you what, those still got a stage caution. I've seen it before here. I think I've said this multiple times this season, where Fensler has dominated the first stage, and in the next stage, everybody, that final stage of the race, everybody's just closer. They figured it out that much more that they can't do what they can do to their tires as much as they think, and it gets a little bit closer as the race goes on. But at the moment, Fensler looking very strong. Matt Job really matched him with lap times, but from behind there, LO Jr. in the 74, he's up to 4th now as Huffstutler and Loveland battle.
Yeah, Huffstutler has been certainly doing his due diligence. He's cut off a couple of drivers, cut off Brett Summers for a moment and almost completely got spun around. So these drivers got to be careful of one another and the way they are duking each other around. But James Loveland, I talked about how he's got a chance to really make a charge up to the front, up to 5th place for the 56, and it has to be tires. I mean, he has done a great job saving it. It was around lap 15 when we talked about the tires might be falling off. That's when he decided to just make that charge forward, and he followed for the longest time there. Earhart is stalled out at 9th place, while the 56 continues to move up forward.
Yeah, Loveland is just, I'm telling you, each and every week he does this. He qualifies in the year mid-pack, 15th to 20th range, and he just drives through the field as the race goes on. I think it sometimes puts him a little behind the 8 ball, but, if he can get a few more spots here before the stage ends, I mean, we've still got, over 10 laps here to go in this stage. If he can get the next 2 ahead of him and get to that 3rd spot, he'll be in a real good position for that final stage to see if he has some sort of leader, because last time by, he's a 10th quicker than anything in front of him. So he's really digging right now, as they would say.
Oh, yeah, certainly trying to dig. Though frustration, possibly, as some drivers that have been having some issues at the start of this race. Justice Murphy still running at the current moment. He was looking poised to be the lucky dog for when the stage caution would come out, but it's going to be Justin Stunnard that's going to be going a lap down. Going to be the first car 1 lap down of those. And looking at the field, there's still some other drivers that are looking like they might be going a lap down before stage 1 has come to a close.
Yeah, they're right on the edge here. They're going to need to fight their hardest to try to stay out in front here. As you see, the 21 of Christopher Heights here, he's going to try his best. As there goes Justice Murphy, who is 2 laps down. But next car back behind him would be the leader of Jason Fensler. And with 10 laps to go, Fensler's about 2 or 3 seconds back in the times Fensler's running compared to him, or about 2nd quicker. It could be very difficult for this 21. I don't know if he has a shot to hold him.
Heights is certainly going to try. We're going to drop back to the battle for 3rd place that's going on. You've got a 3-horse battle. James Loveland is finally caught up to Nate Morris and Aleo Jr. as they continue to duke it back and forth. It just looks like Nate Morris wants to try to pass the 74, but just has not found the right opportunity to, and now leaves an wide open for Loveland on the inside.
This is what he needs down the back straightaway, side by side. He had the great run out of 2 as Morris was trying to attack the 74. Can he make the bottom work, though? Here's the key. Off of 4, can he get the drive off the 22 up the racetrack pretty tight? 56 should cut it down here, but 22 does have a little bit of momentum. We'll have to see down to one. Does that preferred groove on the bottom work, or does the 22 pinch him tight?
Loveland was able to at least stay a half a car length ahead and fully commits now. We'll see what type of run the 22 has coming out of turn number 2. He's going to be trying to duck low, just does not have the nice run that we're used to seeing, and that's because of that more shallow banking that we usually don't see at other mile-and-a-half courses.
Yeah, it really plays a big factor in this place, man. It's a really like I said earlier in the broadcast, it's an awkward mile and a half that has just really unique characteristics to it. And I personally took a little bit of character out with the reconfiguration, but it is definitely still an interesting racetrack with the two turns being completely opposite of each other.
It certainly is, and as you were finishing that statement off, Heights goes a lap down, so now we're going to have 2 cars at 1 lap down, 1 machine that is 2 laps down, leaving us with a total of 22 drivers left on the lead lap. As we're inching closer and closer to the end of stage number 1, that's going to be on lap 40 that these drivers are, and hoping to at least continue to have a decent run for themselves. Nate Morris, though, after being passed by Loveland, it looks like he used up all of his tires trying to make the pass on the 74, because he's now dropped back to Huffstutler, who's looking good in the 94 to the inside, trying to make a pass.
Yeah, it just seems like it's back and forth with a lot of these guys with the tires there. See how now working the bottom of 3 and 4 here. See if he can get the good run off. As Morris is definitely struggling with that tire wear here now. But I tell you what, Christopher Heights was we just noticed that we just talked about him going a lap down. He's a big fan of Lance Durham right now. He's saying, Lance, please stay ahead of Jason so I can get this lucky dog.
Oh, early caution.
Oh, man.
Oh, car blown up. It's going to be the 12 of Jay Johnson that blows up. It looks like that's on the entry of corner number 1. Some contact with the Freaky Fast machine of Walterman as they were coming into corner number 1.
Oh, man. First caution of the evening. Heavy contact. And it looks like Jake Johnson going to take a heavy hit on the front end there. And Walterman, he's going to tow that thing. So both of those cars looking to take a fast repair here early.
Yeah, it was a simple, just not completely clear. And I think that's just a missed call maybe by the spotters. Not completely clearing the driver when they thought they were.
It's so easy to do here. This front straightaway is so interesting with the way the line also it tightens up. The straightaway is actually pretty wide coming off of 4, and I mean you can tell the difference. I mean look at 3 and 4's apron compared to 1 and 2's apron. It's the widths of the corners are completely different, so the track has to almost suck in after that bend in the tri-oval, and a lot of times you have guys coming together when that track sucks in right there, and I think that's the case of what you've seen there. And unfortunate for those 2 drivers, because heavy damage and using a fast repair, I don't think at a very good time for them right now, as they've got a long way to go.
No, absolutely not. Now drivers going to be coming into the pits. Now, these drivers do need to be aware. If you're taking your set now, you're setting yourself up for the end of this stage. We're waiting for a complete confirmation on if this will be the stage caution or not. And if it's not, these drivers could possibly have 2-lap shootout to figure out where they are going to be placed in the top 10. But they have 4 sets of tires in pit road. They have to figure out how they want to delegate it here tonight.
Tires are going to mean everything here, and they're going to use that first set here as they come off of pit road. And I tell you what, I think that will bring this stage in, but we don't have a confirmation on that, so we will have to see exactly what the ruling is on that.
And drivers after that caution, looking at those that are going to be getting the lucky dog, looks like it is going to be that of Justin Stunnard that's going to be getting the lucky dog spot for the 33. So happy this caution came out early and didn't have to worry about someone else being involved in an accident.
Yeah, and looking at the 33 there, Stunnard, he's gonna have to look like he's gonna have to. Oh, he's actually gonna hit pit road here. So looks like he'll give that lap back as he was trying to take the wave there in the 33. And I tell you what, I'm kind of surprised. He's the 33 has had a really good past few weeks, especially at like multiple different types of tracks. And right now, struggling tonight. So unfortunate for that 33 of Justice Dunner.
Yeah, it looks like there could also be a little bit of right side damage, and that's something we're going to be touching on a lot throughout the night of drivers in the middle of the field. Is that right side damage? They came over the radio around lap 20 on a run, saying, "Hey, it's tightening up." So that tight sensation, we saw it for some drivers in the first 15 to 20 laps, and it just gets worse from there. Zach, when it does get tight, what are some of the things that you can do to try to save your tires when you're tight, or just save your machine in general?
Well, the biggest thing is that steering wheel. A lot of drivers want to yank on that thing and get turning that wheel in the center of the corner, but you really got to be very mindful about how much wheel you put in the car. And if you got to lift out the throttle a little bit to put less wheel in it, it's better in general. You're saving the tires. You're not putting the tires on as much edge. So a big recommendation I give to a lot of drivers is always less wheel input. It's always going to lead to better tires and just overall better. I mean, a lot of guys when they get tight, they think to turn more. You gotta actually, it's opposite. You need to lift. So instead of when you're getting tight, you just need to know you gotta slow down a little bit. That's the only way to really fix that tightness. And we got brake bias and stuff like that, but I don't. The drivers maybe as the run goes on using it down into 3 and 4 as the speeds drop. But early in the run, you're not going to have none of that brake usage, so brake bias isn't really going to help. So it's just really going to come down to that right foot and your two hands that you got to make that thing drive better. So once the fix set up, you got to do what you can out there as a driver to figure it out.
Keep your throttle control to its limits. Well, pace car lights are off, and if we go green, we could possibly have a one-lap shootout. We'll figure this out very quickly. We'll call this as if it's a one-lap shootout. We didn't get complete confirmation on if this was stage caution or not. So if we continue to stay green after one lap, we'll know that we did have our stage caution, and it was going to be Jason Fensler that's been up front doing a great job. As Matt Job deciding, yes, he's got the fastest car based off of qualifying, but decided to go with a different strategy of saving his tires, extremely aggressively saving his tires early, which lost him a lot more time than I think he thought he was going to lose. We'll see if he decides to change things up here as we're getting ready to race this thing to the end. 120 laps these drivers are running here tonight as they are about to start lap number 40.
We'll have to see when pit stops start to happen if we get a long green flag cycle, and that'll put all the strategy into play. But let's see if anybody can figure out how to maybe keep in tow with this 5. As you said, the 89 there saved a little bit last time. Maybe he can figure it out this time to stay closer.
It's going to be Jason Fensler, Matt Joe, Mike Aleo Jr., as well as Jason Loveland. James Loveland and Nate Morris, your top 5. As pace car pulls off, so Fensler just waiting so long, and finally the green flag comes out, and they are away. Fensler got an excellent start for himself, and Aleo able to follow suit in the 74, as now it's going to be Joe dropping and losing another position down to 3rd place. This almost looks exactly like what happened on that first restart.
Yeah, just losing positions here early in the go, and it's going to be tough because he's going to have to get him back now, and that takes his chances of possibly competing with that 5 here out of the window. But Loveland here right on board with him. He's trying to complete the pass. He will. He's up the 3rd now with ALO Jr. up the 2nd. Some new faces up front. Fensler's got to look out that mirror now.
And it looks like the green flag going to be staying out. So we are now racing to the end. It was Fensler that won stage number 1. A great job for himself. As Michael Leo as well as Loveland going to be driving away. A great run as behind them, Baker gets out of sorts coming out of 2. They got to be careful as they are still side by side around there battling for 9th place. And that's going to be Baker as well as Orlando Jr. that are side by side.
And Baker is going for it. I mean, we've seen him burn the tires up there on the first run, so I was expecting him maybe to change up his attack, but man, he's got one gear and that's full bore, and he's going at the moment.
Oh yeah, get up front as quick as possible. Now we're seeing our top 10 all getting in line. It's going to be behind them where you're seeing some drivers. It's going to be the 10 and the 26 battling for 12th place. They're side by side at the moment. And these are some machines that are trying to keep it as close as possible to our top 10, so possibly they can make that charge later on in this run.
Yeah, and if we get a long green flag run, just because you're sitting in 12th right now or in the 11th position, that could be right on the fringe of a top 5 if some guys make mistakes. We know how much pit road causes mistakes for drivers here in the sim. and it could be a huge issue. And you could gain some spots here if you can just methodically make your way through this green run here and not burn your stuff up here. Wow, Durham really aggressive to the bottom.
Extremely aggressive there. And, with the way that this is set up, we know the drivers can at least go 40 laps on their set of tires. But Zach, since we're racing to the end of this thing, are you aiming for the halfway or stay out there as long as possible?
Yeah, that comes down to really where you're at. I think the guys that are, in that fringe top 10, come down, split it halfway. Get under that undercut on the drivers ahead of you and see what you can work. You never know, you might catch a caution through the sequence and it may work out for you there. The drivers up front like Jason Fensler, Michael Jr., James Loveland, they're going to have a little bit more luxury to decide when they want to pit. And I think for them, I would stretch it. It's just something about these V7 tires here. You just really want to have the best tire for the end, and stretching that run here now will give you those good tires to the end of the race and that ability to pass other trucks straight through the field. So I think splitting it is a good idea, but at the same time, if you have a lead and have the gap, you want to go longer.
Yeah, you saw on screen there on stream, Steele getting bumped a little bit there by the lap machine of the 33 of Justin Stunnard trying to make his charge forward, and being the first car and only car one lap down, goal hope for a caution to come out and not be involved to get that lucky dog position. Luckily, he's the only one lap down and has to continue to push forward if he wants to get that lucky dog position.
Yeah, he's gonna have to hope for something here, and it looks like the truck's got speed, so that speed doesn't like the issue. Let's say, just like you said, got that right front damage earlier, and he's rebounded from it now. So we'll see if he can catch himself a caution to get him back in the action.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. The 33 certainly has speed, but did not have the best qualifying time. Qualified in 22nd position, running in 22nd position. So nothing has changed based off qualifying to race, but you're hoping for something to change, as Alves, you see there in the 24 car in 10th place, trying to move up to 9th as Orlando Jr. is there. Orlando Jr. was battling with Baker, and we saw how important the tires were moving forward. You don't want to be battling too hard, as that's the 22 and the 25 of Morris and Ehart that are keeping it as close as possible here.
Yeah, we saw Trevor have that big mistake in the last round that really set him back. We'll see if he can keep a hold of this position here. It's just tough to pass right now on that bottom as Morris fighting hard on the outside. And look, there's Baker already in the 88, and he's definitely not saving nothing right now. So if I'm Ian Baker, I definitely think he's going to be pitting as soon as he can make it for the end.
Baker is going to do everything in his power, but went from battling for for the lead, now just hoping to stay in the top 10. I mean, it is a certain change that 88 is dealing with, as he'll be trying to get by Ehart. Ehart stays where he's at the moment. For those up front, though, Fensler still up front. Hasn't pulled away as quick as he did on that first green flag stint that we had. Fensler was already up to a second gap over second place when we were this far along. And right now, Aleo's been able to keep it within a second still.
Yeah, and that's that's something new. New faces in the mirrors, and guess what? Those faces are a lot bigger than the faces that were there before. So Fensler definitely got more to think about this run. We'll see if that deep long run pace comes to him. But I tell you what, like I said last time, Loveland was the fastest truck on the racetrack when that caution came out. So if Loveland can get by Alo Jr., who Alo Jr. was no slouch, he was about the third or fourth fastest car on the track, so he's looking very good also. But I tell you what, Loveland could be the one that he's got to worry about is he's starting to close in on Alo Jr. now.
Yeah, and looking at the drivers and the fastest lap times that they put down all race long, it's certainly been interesting to see, because you got Fensler that has put down a 30.8. You've got Aleo that has put down a 30.8, and then everyone else behind them, they've all put down 31.0s on their fastest lap time. So shows me they are not trying to put down the fastest laps. They're just trying to go for consistent, save your tires moving forward.
Yeah, and they're definitely saving a little bit there with those times compared to the top two's times, who are seems like they're ripping a little more. But that's the one thing I gotta give Fensler credit. The guy runs the fastest lap of the run, and still runs the fastest lap at the end of the run. So he's got the whole thing figured out, and it's going to take definitely somebody to really hit on something here to knock him off the top spot. He's just each and every week he's been one of the guys that he's just a thorn in the side of these drivers. Each and every week, I must say.
Yeah, he's always one of the favorites. I mean, I already threw out his stats coming into this race. He had 4 poles, 5 wins, 11 top 5s, 12 top 10s out of the 13 races that he ran already this season. So almost every single race he's been in the top 10, just one that he was not. And I mean, that is so much consistency carrying into today's race where you have that confidence of, hey, I've been up front all year long. As long as I don't get hit by any lap cars or anyone of my competitors, I should be up front in the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, looking at his stats a little bit more in depth too, he's only 2 races he's not led this season, and that was Knoxville and I believe Las Vegas. So the only 2 tracks he didn't lead for those 2 tracks, and at the moment, leading here again tonight. And tonight he did break the 600 lap mark that he's led. So it's over 600 laps left for Jason Fizzler this season. So definitely a dominant performance so far. But I tell you what, with the playoffs happening, you never can be safe early in the season like this.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, you look forward into the playoffs, and it's got its trials you got to worry about. I mean, you're starting playoffs off with Dover. That's going to be a difficult one, and then round 2 is going to be at Daytona, Chicago. The Glen is going to be there, and Michigan. I mean, what a star-studded amount of tracks, and you finish it all off at Atlanta. So these drivers certainly have a wide variety of tracks that they've got to deal with once you get to playoffs. But before we get there, I mean, we've got a list of fun tracks to go to. We got the All-Star race next week. That's going to be at the Monza Oval. And then we go to Charlotte for one of the longest races of the year. And then the Roval the week after that. Then Pocono, the Tricky Triangle. It's going to be a difficult time for a lot of these drivers.
Yeah, when you brought up the stat about this is only our 3rd mile-and-a-half track of the season, I got to give credit to the Underdog Race League. I mean, they've made a very diverse track list. I tell you that it's all over the place. Each and every week, it's changing up to a different style type race, and as a driver, that makes it fun. So really cool stuff on them as you see Eddie Wilderm up here trying to make the pass in this 26 machine.
Yeah, I mean, it has been a wild of a time for all these guys out here, and it's been a wild one for sure. Do want to clarify though, I did not throw Darlington in there. Darlington, Finsler won there, so so Finsler has won at one of these mile-and-a-half courses, but Darlington's one of the most unique ones of them all, with how odd shape that track is.
And I guess technically you're right still because it's 1.4 miles. You know, it's almost a mile and a half. We can round up, I guess. So, I mean, it's intermediate style track. So, you know, you're same concepts of what you're doing, but definitely Darlington, you know, running against the wall and very, very wild stuff there. As we just got through with Darlington last night, that was some wild stuff. But man, I tell you, Kentucky out here has been fantastic so far with these trucks and these drivers giving us long green flag runs, and that's what I like to see as a driver.
Yeah, I mean, they're keeping it as clean as possible, and this battle that's going on, this is the 11 right now of Presley dealing with the lap machine of the 18 of Justice Murphy. Murphy still 2 laps down, had that early issues on lap 4. First of the drivers that are 2 laps down, but needing a lot of helps with caution flags, and with us staying green as long as we have been, it's not looking like that caution flags that he needs. He needs at least 3 to get back onto the lead lap. It's just not there yet.
Yeah, with the way this race has been going so far, Sam, I would not I would not bet on 3 cautions for sure, as these drivers, like you said, have just kept it very clean, and it's been fantastic so far. But Justice Murphy, he's not probably thinking it's too fantastic. He wants a little bit more carnage out there for sure.
Yeah, Justice Murphy wants to get back out there. Do want to give an update. It looks like Dylan Walterman was had to take a tow and then try to manually repair that 46 machine. Luckily, there wasn't too much required time, able to then swap to a fast repair. So currently 2 laps down, but running in 24th position and needing a lot of help, our Talladega winner from last week.
Yeah, and he's a special driver. I mean, winning Talladega and Bristol so far this season. Walterman, he's been a very bounce back type of driver and a driver that surprises you. Just sometimes it's like, wow, he was there last week, but where'd he come from this week? I mean, it's always impressive to see. But there we go again, looking at the 15th, John Magner. He's running in the 19th position, and Magner's just a driver too. I've noticed this season he's just been solid. Doesn't make a lot of mistakes. You don't really see him involved in too many things, and he's just solidly completing laps out here. And that's a great way to gain experience.
Yeah, and sometimes you're banking on the fact that drivers are just going to make mistakes in front of you. And if you keep your truck clean while they don't, it gives you the best opportunity to be having that consistent run to try to slide your way into playoffs.
At the moment, it looks like Fensler still they got him within a second. They have not let him stretch his legs as much this time. He's definitely had to keep a little bit more thought back there as Alo Jr. I tell you, he's another driver that man, he shows up some races and he is just so darn good. And there's some races it doesn't seem to click for him. So he's definitely one of those guys you got to watch each and every week to see if he's on. And I tell you what, this week at Kentucky, he's definitely on.
Yeah, definitely is. Right now, running in second place, and the 74 machine qualified high up today, up in 8th place. So I had to make a little bit of a charge through the field to get up to second place. And then behind him, you've got two other drivers that had to make some real charges forward. I mean, you got Loveland that started in 15th up to 3rd. Then you've also got the professor of Huffstetler who started back in 11th up to 4th. So some drivers that most of them had to move through the field and got a lot of knowledge on how the dirty air was going to affect their trucks, able to now utilize that knowledge on how they're going to be pursuing the drivers in front of them. Loveland right now, that last lap was 1,000th off of what Fensler is running, and Fensler looks like he is starting to lose that pace while Loveland stays stable, and Leo is starting to lose that time. He's lost a lot of time, and it looks like the draft having a driver behind him might be that pressure that's making him make a little bit of mistake here or there.
Oh man, having a driver behind you makes such a big difference. You have that giant virtual mirror right there on your screen the whole entire time. You're looking forward, but you can see in the background that car going left and right, getting a little bit bigger on entry, you see where he gains on you, see where you gain on him, and you're kind of sizing each other up through your mirror. But it definitely can put you off of your marks as a driver to have someone bearing down on you here late in the run.
Yeah, I mean, you've really got to try to stay focused on, not mirror driving too often, especially with how this is a one-lane course. You're seeing the battle here for the 91 and the 48. They continue to duke it back and forth as this is a battle going on for 12th place. As that is Lance Durham as well as Parker Johnston. We saw Johnston have some issues earlier on around lap 20 of this race, bouncing off the outside wall, almost into the inside wall on this Chick-fil-A machine. Still alive, still kicking, and trying to get back into the top 10.
Yeah, and that's the big thing, like you said, trying to get back in that top 10. I mean, oh man, he makes a little mistake right there. Unfortunately, as I was say, looks like he's going forward there, so I might have jinxed him a little bit, but he is still looking strong in the Chick-fil-A machine, and looks like he got most of that damage fixed up. Maybe has a little bit more. I can't really tell. It doesn't look like it, but and falling back there past 81 off the 14th now, but he looked like he was going forward there for a few minutes.
Yeah, luckily the three drivers that passed him, two of the three were lap machines, so only losing one position to Eddie Wilder-Melton. So Johnson's just going to have to follow suit and hope that these lap cars can pull him along to possibly make passes in front of him. And, if you're finding out that you've saved your tires enough and you're seeing drivers in front of you being extremely aggressive, I mean, can't you use the drivers in front of you kind of like a Lance in some ways where they're paving the path for you while you just follow suit?
Oh, completely.
Oh no. Fensler blinking for a second, and everyone in the lobby started to freak out, thinking that Fensler was out of this race for a second. And that is something we're going to have to keep our eye on, because if the 5 blinks as hard as he did, he was away for almost a half a corner. And that is a long time to be gone. And so you've got to be careful if you are blinking that much that you might be taken out of this race.
I tell you what, too, his quality there for a little bit, looking at that was pretty bad. It's started to come back now, but that's something we will have to pay attention to. Like you said, Sam, that could, that's our mechanical issues of, we don't have, random engine failures unless, you're overheating, of course. Um, but that's, we have to deal with technical issues all the time with iRacing, and it sometimes it comes down to deciding some races, and it would be unfortunate for Fensler, but I'm sure the rest of the guys out here would have been they would have took that one with maybe a little bit of a smile, knowing how strong he has been so far tonight.
Oh, completely. And as we see here on board, this is Kevin Orlando. Orlando Jr. looks like he might have bounced off the wall a couple of laps ago, and it has cost him greatly on time. Was running around ninth position, has dropped now down to 12th. Luckily, he's getting passed by the lap machine of the 33 Stunnard, and now has to worry about Weathermouth behind him. But I mean, it seems like every 3 to 4 laps, we're seeing a truck getting close to the outside walls, hitting it most times, other times just getting close enough for it to back out and hope that they don't smash and destroy their trucks.
Yeah, and we're watching a lot of that happen in the pack, and mostly, you see the car down here with Wildermuth sliding up to 12th now, past Orlando Jr. Most of that comes down to back here in the pack. You just don't have the clean air. Being out front in a stock car now in iRacing is very critical. I mean, you get behind someone, your truck drives completely different, and that person in front of you pushes up a little bit, and you're in their dirty air. You're usually going to go up a little bit higher. So you got to be careful when following someone really close, and seeing a lot of guys get some right side damage here from contact with that wall. And I expect pit stops here, Sam, within the next, I'd say 5 to 6 laps here for some drivers, and we'll see who stretches it farther, but I expect them to happen pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of pit stops, the 52 machine, who was running around 20th position, decides to pit earlier than everyone else, and now is coming out of his pit box. So David Blow is going to be coming in and now getting his service done. But this seems a little bit early for these drivers. I mean, you feel like most of them are aiming for lap 80 as their marker. And for those that feel like they've saved enough fuel and have backed off their pace enough, they can go a little bit further than everyone else. Try to have that freshest set. But I mean, I don't know how much a fresher set is really worth it moving forward, as the battle for second place looks like it is starting to heat up, as Loveland last couple of laps has been one of the fastest trucks on track, but he's now going to have to work on the outside if he wants a chance to be passing here of the 74.
I think that's where he wants to do it here as he comes out the back straightaway. He's got the position down here in 3 and 4. Can LO Jr. clear him? He can't, so we'll see if the run here from the 56 can set him up for turn 1. I think this is going to be a good big run here to clear himself. Yes, he will off of turn 4. At second place, now he's got to set his mind forward, because I tell you what, I think once he gets past him here, let's see what type of lap times happen, because this 5 and this 56 could be down for a battle.
Yeah, I mean, with them battling side by side, it has cost them greatly. They were within about 1.2 seconds. They've now lost over 0.7 of a second to our leader. Now we'll see, what does Loveland have? And Zach, looking at these drivers trying to make a pass on the outside, is that hurting the driver on the outside more or the inside more on those tires?
Well, personally, this late in the run, it's going to be the guy on the inside. Early in the run, I would say you most likely want to be in the rubber, so down on that preferred groove in the bottom. Now, iRacing is going through a lot of updates right now, so we're changing with this dynamic track where you want to be exactly at times, and it's seeming like the clean part of the tracks are actually being the fastest part, but the fastest part doesn't mean the best wear. So I think being in the upper grooves are still going to wear your tires more, but at this late portion of the run, when you're this tight, being on that bottom down there with a truck on your outside, knowing you can't slide up, you just got to drive the truck such under the limit down there, and that outside lane becomes such an advantage here late in the run when you're tight.
Oh, and Loveland wasn't battling. It looked like he was one of the fastest cars out there on track. But Fensler, I think he recognized fastest car. He's getting out there. Got to get up to another pace and another speed. As Fensler starts to pull away. The driver now coming in the pits. That's going to be Parker Johnson in the 48 machine coming into the pits. He was battling around 15th position. So Johnston now going to get service done. This is around a place where you feel comfortable and confident that you can make it to the end.
Yeah, they definitely feel confident making it to the end now here. Definitely right in that perfect window range. But I tell you what, we were talking about Loveland definitely picking the pace up. 32.66 to the 32.76 out front to the second, separating our leaders right now. And I tell you what, if Loveland can stretch it farther, this is going to get where it comes down to a mind game. As you see multiple drivers hitting pit road right now. When do these leaders decide to pit? If I'm Loveland, I go an extra lap.
You got it. Your focus is be the furthest out there. A little bit of mistakes for drivers that just came in this pack. You got Kevin Orlando, Eddie Walthermouth, as well as the 10 of Whitforth, who came into the pits. And it looks like Eddie might have overshot his pit stall just a little bit. Now we got another group coming into the pits. That's going to be the 2491, as well as the 15 and the 11, all coming into the pits.
Yeah, everybody right around here on the 40 to go range, hitting pit road right where we thought they would. The real battle and the real shakeup becomes between these top two guys, to how they shake it all out. As last time by, Loveland lost a little bit of time, but a 1.8 second gap. If Loveland pits later than him, yeah, he's going to lose time. But I think he's got the speed on the long run. His key is he's just got to not let nobody get in front of him. And I think Finsler's coming this time, and I think Loveland's following him. He wants even tires.
Yeah, does not want to lose any ground, wants to stay close. And if anything, I feel like this helps Loveland in the longer runs. He has looked extremely quicker as the run goes on. But Nate Morris going to be staying out for another lap in the 22 machine. And Morris was running around that 5th place position. This is going to be giving him a chance to probably try to run down the drivers. But, I mean, you would think that he'd have to stay out for at least 2 laps if he wants a chance to really try to charge forward and catch up to the leaders.
Yeah, he's going to definitely need to stretch it a little bit farther. Just looking at his lap times, just not very consistent. He looks like he could get close to the pace the leaders are running, but a couple tenths off every now and then. That's just not going to equate us here. We look at Loveland, not much of a gap between him and Finsler. I think he gained time there, but this apron right here, let's see who can get the best pit road exit. And I tell you what, this is an intangible that drivers, in my opinion, always need to work on. The faster you can go here, you can gain time. I mean, it's a legit part of the racetrack, and we'll see who did the best there. As we're going down to 3 and 4 this time, Nate Moore's still yet to pit.
It was looking like Finsler was losing ground to Loveland when they were coming out, but it looks like Loveland was the one that lost ground coming in up to speed. As it looks like he has now lost over 3 tenths trying to get back up to speed for himself. As Brett Summers now going to be coming into the pits, leaving us with a total of 5 cars still waiting. You got Heights, Kerberg, Steele, Baker, as well as Morris. Morris still out there and trying to make a big enough charge, possibly run down the leaders, but just like that, Finsler's already unlapped himself.
Oh no, and here comes Nate Morris right in front of him. Okay, it's going to time out perfectly. They were closing it such a right there for Nate Morris. He's going to hit pit road. As the gap, like you said, it definitely grew between those two, and Loveland's got to do everything he can here to see if he can run this 5 down now. He ain't got the, at least he doesn't have a car in front of him. I think that ALO Jr. held him up there for a little bit, and now he's got open track to see if he can go mano-a-mano with the leader.
And Baker just acknowledging that he's going to be coming in this time by Steele's come in, so now we're waiting for the final 3 drivers. We know Baker's coming in. Kerberg, we'll see if the 14 wants to follow suit into pit road. And Heights, who got the lucky dog for the 21 machine, hoping that maybe a strategy of staying out will help himself trying to gain some more time ahead. As Baker comes in, Kerberg stays out another lap for the 14s. Is this shocking to see here, Zach, of the drivers trying to stretch it as far as they can?
Well, personally, not the most shocking here, because they're taking a chance. They could have done the undercut to gain that time there. What now they're trying to do is, I don't think they're really worried about doing the overcut, because they've waited a little too long. In my opinion, they've lost so much time now to the guys that have pitted. But what they're trying to do right now, in my opinion, is, if anything, catch a caution to stretch the field as far. And I think that's as far as you're going to stretch the field, because here comes the 14.
Yeah, Kerberg tried his best into pit road and had to come into pit road, was almost caught up by Finsler. Finsler was about 8 seconds away before the 14 decided to come in. Loveland has now made that pass also to come in. Heights follows suits into pit road. And just like that, our pit cycle has come to an end. And what a run it has been for all of these drivers so far. As we're past the halfway marker, that should have been their final pit stop for all of these drivers. And it's going to be a fun one to the end, but we'll be right back after a commercial break here for the Underdog Racing League Truck Series. It's round number 14 here at Kentucky. It's going to be Jason Finsler up front in Loveland. Run him down. We'll be right back. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Underdog Racing League Truck Series. It's round number 14 here at Kentucky. And right now, it's Jason Finsler leading the way and continuing to pull away. I mean, my name is Sam Dyer. With me is Zach Hall. Zach, we talked about the possible chance of Loveland catching up to the 5 with this pit stop. It has not been working out. Also, a shout out to our producer behind the screen of Robert Moyer. Thank you so much for always putting on a great show for us and allowing us to do our job so easily. But Zach, what could Loveland possibly be doing right now if he's continuously losing time?
Yeah, he's got to be in save mode. You know, that's kind of the conclusion I've kind of come to. I mean, Finn's right now putting in just stellar laps. And even looking at Alo Jr., I mean, he's falling back too. I mean, did Finsler just engage the afterburner? We don't know. I mean, he's been going through lap traffic, cutting through it, and just been gaining time. We'll have to see in this last 25. Is Loveland setting up for a run here to the end? I mean, he could be just, you know, waiting for that moment to go, but the gap is growing so much that he's going to have to start definitely thinking about at what point to go. And I tell you what, that last lap there, about a 10th and a half there. So really good lap. We'll see if he can continue to check chunks out like that with 24 to go.
And this is looking very familiar if you were watching real life NASCAR back on Sunday. I mean, it's looking pretty similar with Loveland. He kind of backed off, and now he's starting to show, hey, The question is, did Loveland lose too much time? Did he give too much space? He is gaining now, but now that we're 23 laps to go, is there enough laps for the 57 to try to run down the 5? Who's trying? I mean, Jason Finsler trying to go for win number 6 of the season. It's been a dominant regular season so far, but certainly he's got pressure at this point as here comes Loveland trying to get by lap traffic, and that is going to be the most difficult thing so far.
And this would be a huge statement for Loveland. I mean, who's going to be the guy that says, in the playoffs, I'm going to be the guy that challenges Finsler? Who's going to be his arch rival? Who's going to be the driver he has to come into each race and say, that's the guy I got to beat? I mean, so if he can do that here before this playoff starts, put himself in the mind of Finsler, then, this could play out very interesting for the rest of the year. I mean, Loveland already 2 wins. You see, oh man, Orlando Jr. there. Big checkup. That's going to let Loveland get by. That's going to help him out there. As he's cutting the gap, the only thing I worry about is the plateauing out of these tires. You get to a certain point, and you can just run similar times over and over again. We'll have to see if he's just more consistent and worry about that dirty air. It's easy to catch him, but it's going to be hard to pass him. So 2.6 seconds, 21 to go. He's going to have to start really digging.
Yeah, I mean, he's only gained about 0.6 in the past 6 laps. And if you're doing a 10th per lap, there isn't enough time for him to do that. Maybe one, I mean, is there a chance that once Loveland gets to the draft of the 5, that could be pulling the 56er and give him an opportunity to run down once he's close enough?
It definitely can give him a little bit of a top speed of help. It's going to definitely, I think, hurt him in the corners the closer he gets. It's going to get less beneficial. But when you get about to that second point, I think he'll gain a little bit in that range. And then he'll get to that 0.6, the half second back. And he'll really start to feel the effects of that really strong, dirty air. And that's where it's going to get tough. I mean, he gained again last time, about over a 10th. So can he continue to stretch that? He's got a little bit clearer track here now. Finsler catching up to John Magner in the 15 with 19 to go. It's got the signs of where Loveland can do it, but with the lap time right there matching each other identical, it's not going to work.
Yeah, it certainly in theory was a great job by Loveland to back off, try to save those tires. But exactly what you stated, that plateau has possibly caught up to himself. Looking at drivers, you saw there on screen, that was Huffstuffler and Ehart. They were running close to one another. They're within 0.2. And the big thing for Trevor Ehart, he has 1 lap fresher tires than the 94, continuing to pull away. Looking at other battles that are going on track, possibly a battle for 7th place. And it is going on right now as Nick Alves going to be under pressure by Brett Summers. Summers, one of those drivers that stretched out the furthest than anyone else. And currently, if you look at those lap times, running almost as fast as our leaders at this moment.
Yeah, and he's using those tires to his good advantage there as you see him get by Alves, move himself up into that 7th position. He's got about 3 seconds up to Matt Job, and they're running similar lap times, so he's going to need some help there to catch Job. But great run for Brett Summers, 13th to 7th here tonight, and don't think he'll have too much pressure from behind if this thing stays green.
Also, another battle that's going on behind these guys. That's Nate Morris that just is trying to make the pass on Lance Durham. Almost able to make it for the pass for 9th place. Nate Morris was one of those drivers that stretched it out almost the furthest that anyone could possibly go. But with all these battles that they have to do for the drivers that pitted so late, that overcut really isn't helping them because they're wasting all of the precious rubber that they were trying to save up. It's all gone.
Yeah, it's such a fine balancing act. You want to not lose time, but you can't overdrive it too. So that's where in my opinion, that's where the best drivers are. Is they got that fine line that they can run fast and conserve. It's something you're like, well, that makes no sense, but it's what you got to do as a driver. Is you got to be able to figure out how to go fast with creating the least amount of tire wear and heat in your tires. And some drivers figure it out, and some drivers just struggle with that. And 1.5 miles is a place where you're definitely going to struggle with it. This is a tire wear central when it comes to this type of racing with 15 to go.
Well, I'll keep on looking to see where the best battles are, and it's looking like that is the battle for 7th place, where Alves is still keeping it close on Brett Summers. And looking at the battle for the lead, it's still 2.5 seconds, and it's looking like Loveland's trying to make a charge, but just not gaining enough time as it is 14 laps to go here at Kentucky, and it continues to clock away. The differences between first and second just not great enough if we want to see Jason Fensler get past. And Fensler, what a run. Really hyped him up coming into this race. He was the fastest during practice, just missed out on the pole by about, I believe it was 4 thousandths of a second. It was 2 thousandths of a second. And incredibly, once he got to the lead, no one else really had a chance. Continued to pull away time after time, and now up by 2.6 seconds. He's pulled away by a tenth that last lap.
Yeah, he's just consistent, man. He's hard to beat when you're that consistent. And Loveland's he's tried everything he had, but it's gotten to this point now. We're in that 32.5 to 32.6 range, and these drivers really just kind of bounce back and forth there to the later portions of the run. They might drop a tenth here and there every now and then, but they usually can bring it right back if you're good about driving your car on these long runs. So Fensler has just got it going on. I mean, Loveland made that quick charge in, and now the time is starting to go backwards, and I think his tires may have overheated with that quick charge.
Now, Zach, we know this race isn't over just yet. Yes, the laps have been ticking away, and we're within 11 laps of this race being over. I mean, 12 laps, excuse me, coming to 11 laps. There's still the possibility of a late caution coming out. If a caution does come out, is there anyone that looks like they've got a chance to try to pass this 5 late, and really, if there is a 5-lap shootout?
It's their best chance, personally. The 5 has just he's been really quick taking off too on the restarts. I think ALO Jr. might have something for him there. 74 seems like he has really good takeoff speed. He's been another driver that was putting down really fast first lap times. He could be a driver we look at if we get down a late restart. Loveland hasn't really shown the short run pace yet, but I think that's mostly it's just been his style. If he pushes it 100%, he may be able to get something out of it. But it'll be interesting to see if a yellow waves, it'll change the whole complex of this race.
It certainly would, as Baker at one point was battling for the lead, now going to be passed and going to be the first car 1 lap down, leaving us with 11 cars left on the lead lap. Fensler continues to just pull away. Ever since we had that first caution of the day, it's been all the 5 machines. He has not really looked back at anyone, and these laps just continue to tick away. 9 laps to go for the drivers out here on track. It's been a very nice, clean race. Strategy was something that maybe could have been thrown out a little bit better, but Loveland certainly tried something by trying to back off his pace so much to possibly have the better tires. But once he started being aggressive and beating on the grip of the tires, it's just the gap was so massive that Fensler didn't have to race as hard as he once was.
Fensler, man, is just on a roll in this season right now. He's like I said, he's had mistakes where he hadn't got the win every week that he's shown the pace that he could have won. Like I said, coming in here tonight, he could have a couple more wins in his bag with the amount of times that truck's shown the pace that it has here tonight. And tonight is another flawless performance from him. So it's right back to where we were a couple weeks ago when before Talladega hit in Knoxville. So he's right back on it here when we get right to the intermediate ovals, and he's looking strong once again in this 5 truck.
7 laps to go, and we are now racing to the All-Star break. We talked about it next week. The drivers are going to Monza Oval to have some fun All-Star racing, a little bit of a break from points racing, giving these guys time to restart. And for others, possibly time to practice and try to hone in on these next couple of races that are going to be extremely important on how the rest of your regular season is going to go and on if you can make it into the playoffs. I mean, once we come back from Monza, go to North Wilkesboro, Charlotte, the Roval, Pocono. We go back to Talladega, and then to finish off the regular season, we go to Homestead. Just a handful of races to go here, Zach. And Fensler, obviously the favorite, but everyone else has not locked in based off a win, they've got to be careful here.
Oh, for sure. It's coming down to the most important time of the season for these drivers. And like you said, we go to Monza next week for All-Stars. So they can have a little bit of, get loose, have some fun next week. But it's right back at it after that at North Wilkesboro. And I tell you what, that's a place where if you're not smart, you could have a bad day, and we'll have to see how drivers can make it through that. We'll also have our first road course of the season coming up with the Roval on week 17. So drivers have got some interesting things coming at them, and I tell you what, it's going to show who's going to be playoff ready because we got a road course in the playoffs with Watkins Glen. So we're going to get a few good details on how these drivers are going to run heading up to the playoff time. And I tell you what, you don't want to peak too early, but Finsler, I don't even know if you can call his a peak. He's just kind of just been rock solid, and that's what you want to keep throughout the season. But playoff time comes, he's going to have to keep that same mentality if he wants to be able to hold the rest of these drivers off.
And that's going to be Wilder Mouth that you're seeing our leader lap, leaving us with 10 cars left on the lead lap. As the laps continue to tick away, Finsler coming to 3 laps to go. The difference, 2 seconds. It's been cut down pretty drastically in the last about, 2 laps or so between Loveland and Finsler, but that was just because of lap traffic bogging down the 5 a little bit here or there. But it doesn't look like there's much lap traffic to worry about moving forward, as that's going to be Lance Durham. That's the difference, and that's about 10 seconds until we get to the next lap car. It's really free sailing for the 5 machine, who's coming to 2 laps to go.
Free sailing definitely out front for him. He's going to have to stay somewhat, clean here. You can't get into the wall, lose too much momentum with 2 to go here. But I tell you what, fantastic race so far, and Loveland putting the late charge on here, but it's just going to be a little bit too late as he's brought it down to 2 seconds. And they're pretty much, when they're in clean air, both of them, they're both just matching lap times here. But, man, what a race between these two. It's been fantastic, and Finsler's going to try to pull this thing off.
Finsler coming out of 4, coming to the white flag, the 1 to go. It has been straight dominance. You didn't get the pole, but got the lead quick on lap number 1, has led practically every single lap this race. And Jason Finsler continues to rack up and showing how dominant he is. You brought up the stat, Zach, earlier on the fact that Finsler led over 600 laps at one point. With how many laps he's led here today, it might have propped him up over 700. The next closest driver has 150 laps led. It has been dominant all season long, but Jason Finsler coming out of 4. It's going to be 6 wins this season here in the Underdog Racing League Truck Series. Round 14 goes to Jason Finsler.
What an amazing stat. What an amazing win for this 5 here. Another dominant performance. And like you said, I think that definitely will push him over 700 here tonight. So, wow. And what an accomplishment for him so far through the season. But congrats to Loveland also driving up to 2nd. And Mike Ella Jr. bringing the solid top 3 finish at 74.
Yeah, a close battle for 6th place for a second there. Brett Summers tried to make a late charge on Matt Jobe, our pole sitter of the 89. Not able to do so. Will come up 2/10 short. Even a closer battle was for 9th place, as Nick Alves was able to hold off Durham by 0.07 of a second. So that means they were side by side coming across the line. But everyone knows at this point, Jason Finsler, we've had 14 races. He's won 6 of them. He's been in the top 5 for 12 of the 14 races. Incredible for this driver.
I tell you what, we're seeing him burn it down here and celebrate on the front stretch. He doesn't do burnouts very much, so he must be a very happy man.
Oh, yeah. Just gets to try to do some donuts. And he is now done. What a great run it was for the 5 machine.
It definitely was here as he celebrates here. And congrats to all these drivers. It was a fantastic race. And I think we'll go to break here and get our top 3 up here.
Yeah, we'll be right back. Top 3 interviewed here by Zach. And we'll be right back in just a few.
All right. We are back here with our top three podium interviews here tonight from the Underdog Racing League for their truck series. And we got our third place man of Mike ALO Jr. in the 74. Let's see what he has to say here about his top three run here tonight at the Kentucky Raceway. Hey, Mike, it's Zach up in the booth. You got a copy, man?
Zach, I sure do. How you doing tonight?
Doing fantastic, Mike. Well, I'll tell you what, man, the 74 looked great out there tonight once again. I tell you what, man, how was the racing out there from a you drove up through the pack there and got yourself into the top three here tonight?
Yeah, the 74 Bay Racing team is always strong here at Kentucky. Figured something out, getting through 3 and 4, a little bit different than everybody else does, and it seems to, if not save more tire, at least run as well as most of the guys do that run pretty quick here. So knew it was going to be well. It was just a matter of, I started back, I think, 6th place, and I just wanted to make sure that I didn't burn the tires up getting through the first 5 cars or so. And then the rest of Jason's just he outclasses us all. So it's a matter of who's racing for second. James was very, very strong. Had to hold him off for a long, long time there until we got to that stage stop, because if I let him by, then it'd be like a freight train. So just 74 team was really strong tonight. Very pleased with the 3rd place finish. Couldn't really ask for much more.
Yeah, definitely a very strong like you said there, Mike, man. It looked great from our standpoint up here. Now next week we head off with our All-Star week at Monza. That'll be fun. But it's getting down to, the important part of the season, right before the playoffs start to kick off. If these next 6 critical races after our All-Star week, how important is it to you to get these top 3 finishes and the momentum going into that playoffs buildup?
It's extremely important to continue this string of good runs, especially because we got a road course out there, and road courses, I just am not a road course person. I get out there for survival of my own. I try and stay on the track, and wherever I finish, I finish. So I gotta get as many points in as many places as I can in all these other races to make up for a poor finish when we get to the road courses.
Definitely going to be critical, my friend. I tell you what, great work again here tonight in the office for the 74. It was fun stuff to watch out there. You and Loveland put on one heck of a show, battling there for position for second. Before we let you go and get ready for Monza next week, Mike, anybody want to send a shout out to you, man?
Certainly, I'd like to thank you guys for the broadcast. You do a super job, and I'd like to thank Kieran, my crew chief for life, and my mom, #1 fan.
Awesome stuff, Mike. Congrats on 3rd here tonight, man. We will catch you next week at Monza. Congrats on top 3 here tonight, man.
Thank you very much. See you then.
All right, that was Mike Alo Jr. here tonight. Your 3rd place finisher. Now we'll move on to our 2nd place man. James Loveland tried to do everything he could here to get Jason Finsler. Just came up a little bit short, but let's see what his thoughts are on this 2nd place run here tonight. Hey, James, is Zach up in the booth? You got a copy, man?
Yes, I do.
Hey, James, well, another fantastic run for yourself tonight in this number 56 machine, man. I mean, qualifying 15th, you had to work your way through the pack. By the stage there, you had already worked your way up into that top 5, man. And from there, you had to get by Mike Ayla Jr. after that restart. And then from there, you just trying to track the 5 down, came up about 2 seconds short here tonight, man. But what a battle for your job to fight up through here all the way to 2nd tonight. Describe to us how you got it done.
Yeah, saving tires was probably my whole race. Yeah, right in the beginning, I was cruising. I'm like, I got a bunch of time, 120 laps, no problem. And then after that stage, I started to push it a little more, but I was still kind of saving. And right at the end there, I tried to save on Fensler, but I just did a little too late.
Yeah, we noticed that. I was going to ask you about that, but you brought that up earlier. It looked like you definitely did come out of the pit, start to save a good bit there, and tried to make that charge. You definitely cut into that lead a good bit, but just came up a little bit short, man. But what a fantastic run for yourself. The one thing I want to, I don't want to pick on you for this, but it seems like you always have to the teens in qualifying. Do you think? If you could, if you had a better qualifying position, you think you could challenge maybe a little bit better early on, or do you think that's just your style? It's just you got the race pace, but the qualifying just doesn't match that?
Well, I shouldn't be hitting the wall in qualifying every week, but other than that, sometimes it helps because I learn how to work through traffic and how my truck works. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but yeah, I should probably improve on my qualifying. It might help me up front better.
Yeah, man, that's great insight there. Definitely learning as you go through traffic is a great point also. But it'll be interesting to see if you can get those better qualifying positions, man. I know you definitely don't want to get into the wall there. But sometimes it's easy to make that mistake when you got that one shot. But another great run for yourself, man. You showed a lot of pace again and just that long run speed, able to really manage your stuff. And I think that bodes well for these upcoming races here, like Charlotte and Pocono, and tracks like that with Homestead also coming up too. So intermediate tracks are coming. We'll see if you can produce there also like you did here tonight at Kentucky, man. Congrats on second. Anybody want to send a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, thank you guys for doing this broadcast. Great broadcast. I watch every week. Also, thanks to Justin and doing this Underdog Racing League. I enjoy running with these guys. Super clean league. Very fun to run in.
Awesome stuff, Jason. Or James Ben. Sorry about that. But great finish here tonight for second for you, bringing home another great finish. We'll catch you next week at Monza, man. And you have a great week.
See you guys next week.
All right, everybody. That was James Loveland there in the 56 machine, bringing on that second spot. Now we'll move on to your points leader and race winner here tonight, Jason Finsler at the Kentucky Speedway, getting his sixth win of the season. Let's hear what his thoughts are. Hey, Jason, it's Zach up in the booth. You got a copy, man?
Yes, sir. I got you.
Well, I tell you what, Jason, another dominant performance for yourself here tonight, man. Getting not only your sixth win, but I can tell you, you've led over 700 laps this season here through the first 14 races. Just describe to us what kind of night you had out there, because, man, it looked flawless from up here.
It was far from flawless. We had a good pace in practice. I found a pace that kind of worked for me, and I kind of stuck with that. But James and Mike did a heck of a job. They're really good at saving tires. So I was kind of worried there on the long runs, but it worked out for us.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to go into is the long runs. It seemed like James and Mike definitely, they had figured something out. And there, it seemed like James might have a challenge for you there. He might have waited maybe a little too long and saved a little too much. But man, each and every week we see you can really make pace at the beginning run and make pace at the long run. So how do you not go too hard, but go fast enough to where you don't lose time and still save your stuff?
Yeah, it's tough, especially when you got people like James and Mike behind you. They're pushing, but they're smart about saving tires. So you worry about how much you're pushing. But I just kind of find a pace in practice that works for me, and I do 30, 40 lap runs, and it seems to be pretty consistent. So I try and stick with that.
Well, definitely take that one down, everybody, if you're trying to learn from somebody great, because Jason Finsler's definitely proved that so far this season, man. It's been so fun to watch you so far. Now, next week, we got an all-star week. You ready to have some fun at Monza next week?
That ought to be an experience.
Yeah, what have you ever even raced at Monza? I mean, I know, iRacing has had races on there before in the past, but, have you ever experienced the Monza Oval before?
No, I have not. So I'm going to have to get it and jump in there and see what it's all about. And yeah, we'll have some fun. We'll do a good job, and all these competitors do a really good job. So we'll definitely make it fun.
It definitely will be a fun time here on Freaky Fast Broadcast, man. Well, we appreciate everything, Jason. Great win here tonight, man. But before we let you go and celebrate this thing, anybody want to send a shout out to?
Yeah, Justin and all the boys that do the league, they do a heck of a job. Do a really good job. It's a lot of fun, and the competitors are really clean, so it makes it a lot of fun. And then you boys doing the broadcast do a heck of a job. I know my friends and family enjoy it, so I appreciate all you guys.
Well, we appreciate you too, Jason, man. All you drivers out there put on one heck of a show each and every week here, and making it our jobs very easy to call these things. So congrats on the win here tonight, Jason. And we'll see what you can do next week in Monza, man, at the All-Star race.
Sounds good, boys. Have a good one.
You have a great night, Jason. All right, guys. That was your race interviews here tonight with Freaky Fast Broadcasting from the Underdog Racing League at the Kentucky Speedway.
Yeah, I mean, Zach, what a run these guys had. Fensler, the stats were just updated. This season, we touched on the fact, he said it earlier on, he crossed the 900 laps led this season. He is now at 709 laps have been led all season long. And honestly, the odds-on favorite going into the playoffs with the pace that he is going at. But everyone else, they've got to figure out how to step up their game and try to keep up with the 5 machine. But certainly a great race dominated by the 5. But Zach, what were some of your final thoughts?
Man, definitely the biggest thing I think about is just before these playoffs happen, I think someone needs to get almost in Finzer's head, not in his head, but just make him think about you. And I think there's drivers out there that definitely can do that. Each and every week you see the gains through the stages. I see the gains on the guys that they learned from Finzer, and we'll have to see if anybody can step their game up. And I tell you what, when it gets down to that certain critical point of the season, some drivers shine more than others. So we'll have to see which driver shines the most when the pressure is the highest.
Yeah, I mean, also was talked about road course races. That is something that is going to be coming up. You've got one in the regular season, the Roval, and then you got Watkins Glen in the playoffs. So we'll see who will be the road course ringers. Will Jason be the road course ringer, or will someone else come up and show off the rest of the field? But tonight, here's your final results. Finsler dominating Loveland, Leo, and the rest of the field going down. We had only our top 10 were able to stay on the lead lap. That's going to be Lance Durham, that last car there. Also, Lance just barely able to keep it in the top 10 by 700ths of a second. Incredibly close was that battle. And just it's insane to look at how this field has gone through. And then we look at the rest of the field on how they went. Struggles for those at the bottom half of the field. We had Jake Johnson caught up in a wreck. Kevin Orlando, he also was involved in hitting the outside wall multiple times, had to bring it into pit road and spend a lot of time on pit road. Also might have been caught speeding. That was another thing that these drivers had to deal with. We got a lot of drivers that really need to make a rebound. Walterman and Orlando, I think those are the big 2 that finished in 23rd and 24th. They need a rebound coming after the All-Star break. But Robert, it was a great run for these guys, and we'll hand it off to you to finish out the closing.
That is right. All right, gentlemen, thank you. Great commentating tonight, and hopefully everybody out there enjoyed the show here with Underdog Racing League here at Kentucky, and we do much appreciate it. And hopefully, if you're the first time viewer here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, don't forget to hit that follow and like and subscribe button on both platforms, Facebook and YouTube, so you don't miss any of the action of Sam and Zach calling the action on Wednesday nights, and all the rest of our commentators that we have on Saturday night, Sunday nights, doubleheader. And we also got Tuesday night doubleheader, and then we got the Underdog here too. So we got a lot going on here, Freaky Fast, in the 2021 season. So, but until then, we will catch everybody Saturday night, 9 o'clock Eastern. But until then, we want to say God bless everybody. We love you all. Peace out.
Bye, everybody.